Are you ready? Because it's time to go lead everything. All right, everybody. Welcome to the Go Lead Everything podcast. We got Adam Farris, the bassoonist from Stony Creek High School here today.
That is my primary qualification. Thank you, Phil.
So Adam and I were just catching up real quick, and we're having some great conversations. Wanted to record those and maybe share them with you all at some point. Adam, share some of your perspective. We were talking about the concept of leading everything, and it's really interesting to me, and I have my own thoughts about that. I was just sharing some with you. Relate to us and the audience today some of your thoughts about leading everything and just your perspective on leadership and positional leadership and that sort of thing.
Yeah, wow, a little nervous. That was a great intro. So what we were talking about just before you hit record was, lead from your position as the tagline, because position by itself never means or equates to leadership. So we've all seen someone in a leadership role that perhaps doesn't deliver. So I think the challenge that we can all put on ourselves, or improvement opportunity, is how do we demonstrate leadership from our current situation? And then anyone can achieve that, because it doesn't require a change to our position. It just requires a change within us.
So, yeah, I think that's great insight. And to me, that's ownership of your station and your role in life. And I like to think of it as leading the followers almost. And it's not that you're overstepping your leader's leadership, but you're helping him or she be a more effective leader.
Yeah. And I mean, also a good way to think about it is, as a leader, who do you serve? And it is your followers. That's the whole point.
Exactly.
So demonstrating leadership is not about looking up. It's about looking down, and figuratively down. It's about elevating your team members. So you have to take care of your community as a leader. And if you're trading that community to get yourself more position, then you're doing the opposite of what a leader should do, which is prioritizing yourself. So servant leadership is the key.
Right. Totally agree. Let's go back to some other topics we were discussing. We were discussing communication, and actually we were discussing it in the context of having a dog and being able to understand your dog. And I think this is super interesting. And if you could describe to me, you mentioned that you can communicate with your dog, and I can relate to this same sort of thing. And I want to just kind of hear your perspective on being able to communicate with your dog.
I think it's just a really wonderful exercise in what communication is. And we focus so much on words all the time, like literally the Twitter, right? Or it's all words. Sometimes we throw in a picture, but like real communication, like your dog's tweaking out and your friends are like, what? And you're like, oh, well, she has to go out and go to the bathroom. But you know that, right? Because she's communicating to you in her own unique way. Like, that's communication, right? So comparing, I can communicate with my dog. Everybody can. It's not that impressive. But the parallels between that and when you're in a work meeting and someone's talking and they're saying so many words and they're not actually saying anything. It's like, you have communicated less to me in this 30-minute block.
Right.
My dog does when she needs to go out.
Right.
Interesting to think about.
Yeah, I think you're right on. I think the buzzword of today is emotional intelligence.
Oh,
and I think one of the reasons why you look at being able to communicate with your dog in the way you do is you're very high in emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
And I think many of the great leaders can sit in a room, and you're talking about service and meeting people's needs as a leader. You can sit in a room in a meeting and you might not even be running the meeting, but you can feel and sense the needs of that meeting. It's kind of like being at a dinner where the dinner's not going well, and you sense that you need to maybe step in and kind of lead
do
that.
something.
Yeah, like something needs to be done, and it might not be your role, but you can help facilitate it without stepping out of that position that you're in. You don't want to you know, make those leaders that are actually in the position look bad, but you want to help them, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, when you're the awkward dinner example is wonderful because everyone can relate to that. Everyone, like, it's like, oh man, I've entered awkward dinner territory. Even if you don't know really why, right? Like, even if you don't have all the context for why someone will say something to someone else is kind of snippy, even if you don't know like the history of their bad blood, you're like, oh, that's terrible. Even though the words might be fine, right? You can sense it. So like, that's no different than communicating with your dog or listening to someone in a work meeting use a whole lot of words to describe the fact they have no idea what's going on.
Exactly.
So and then tying that back to the leadership lesson is that when you're as a leader, what is your currency with your team? And in my opinion, the answer is trust. So if they trust you, they communicate more openly with you. And when they're communicating more openly with you, it doesn't matter how. Maybe it's with more words, maybe it's with slumped shoulders when they're bummed, maybe it's with tears. But if your people are communicating with you more openly, then it's far easier to take care of them as a leader. So the more in tune you are with your people, emotional intelligence, empathy, however you want to describe it, but the more you're in touch with your people, the more they are in touch with you. That's how you succeed as a leader.
I love that. How do you build that trust as a leader?
You invest in them. So think about someone who you trust deeply, who's earned it, right? Because trust is earned. If it's given away and betrayed, which we've all been burned, right? Then trust is earned. So how do you win over the trust of your people? Invest in them. Show them that you're worth that investment. It's kind of like an investment game. Show your people why you are worth their investment. Just like they buy things online. You're just another person, guy, girl, whoever, who happens to be above them on the position chart today. Doesn't mean that they should invest in you. You got to show them that.
I think you're right on, man. I've heard an interesting perspective from Gary Vaynerchuk. Do you listen to Gary V at all?
I read his words online. Yes.
He's got some interesting perspective, mixed reviews on Gary, but he has a really interesting one on giving trust. And you mentioned trust is earned, and I totally agree. But one of his perspectives is that he's big on giving trust freely first and letting people break it as opposed to waiting for them to earn it. And I think that's an interesting perspective because it's really hard to trust somebody that doesn't trust you back.
That sounds like he's gaming it, in my opinion.
Yeah, how so?
Well, if I'm going to give away trust easy, no, you know what? I guess that makes sense.
It changed my perspective on it a little because I'm big on earning trust too. And if people prove to be untrustworthy, then yeah, I mean, obviously you can't trust them. But I think there's like a biblical school of thought maybe on it, and I can't think of a specific Bible verse right now, but it's consider others better than yourselves, or
judgment. I don't know. No judgment.
Yeah, give them that trust until they prove that they're not trustworthy, and obviously when I say that, I'm not saying go give away all your possessions or your wealth or whatever and just trust people.
Anyway. This is really interesting. When you just said that, my initial reaction was, he seems like he's gaming it. It was a negative reaction. But upon further review, no, I mean, it makes sense. Don't give away all your cards, but also don't super hide them. You're not trying to win. It's not so competitive. Just whatever approach works for you. If he prefers, he's an integrator. He's an extrovert. He likes people. So when he meets people, he's just Gary. He's not dishonest at all. He's just being himself. And he's not judging anybody. So who could disagree with that approach?
Yeah, I totally agree, man. Totally agree. So Adam, tell me in our audience today about your leadership story. Kind of give us an overview of how you got to where you are and maybe some of your aspirations for the future.
Yeah. Long journey. I'd say the most important inflection moment was like a self-realization around what it is that I want to do and what makes me happy. And then once I had that figured out, I had always heard like, do what makes you happy, Adam, which is a fine ism, but my reaction to it was, well, then I'm going to be poor, right? I need a good job or I'll die. But it's not so black and white. So I realized that teaching and mentorship and deep personal relationships are what do it for me. So in my career, as I work for a huge company, there's all kinds of opportunities to teach and mentor and lead from any position, to our point earlier. So I kind of just realized I was in the perfect spot, and then invested more in, like, even like, it was one day I went into work and I was kind of different. Not all at once, but over time, I was like, I get it now. Now I get. And so the same people, the same job title, the same work context, the same personal relationships are all better as a result of me taking a moment to be like, what does Adam want? What makes Adam happy? And then being really honest with that helped set everything else up around leadership. So I have leadership qualifications. I've led teams and programs and things. But the stuff I'm most proud of would be the impact I've had on people and the impact that they've had on me.
That's awesome, man. Super cool perspective. I had a similar moment myself, and it's come recently. Even though I've had leadership experience, like you mentioned, there's just this kind of mental switch where you get into this empowered, owned, like you basically own it. You start owning it and going, hey, I can lead and make a huge impact from whatever position I'm in. I don't have to necessarily wait to make a big impact until I'm some big high up business leader.
No, it's too late then.
Right. You've got to be doing it already, or you're not going to be ready for it when you get there.
If you can't do it as a soldier, why do you think you can do it as a general? I think people mess that up. They'll get there. There'll be a moment where you wake up and you have a position that satisfies all your dreams. It's a lie. It's not real.
Right.
You spend your whole life looking at other things. Literally, your eyes and your nose and your ears are pointed away from you, and you meet people and you think about what are they thinking? What do the other people want? You get all nervous about it, and you never look at yourself, which is hilarious,
right,
and sad. But once you do, the better you know yourself. That's the secret keys to everything. Once you know yourself, it helps you frame everything else that happens to you, and it just clicks. Versus if you don't know yourself, then everything is just random happenings. There's no context. Like it's words without communication. To our point earlier, but if you take a moment and self-reflect and have a better picture of yourself, then all of a sudden it's communication. And that's what you want.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. Totally agree. You sound very self-aware. You sound like you know yourself pretty well, Adam. I'm curious, do you still play the bassoon?
I do not play the bassoon. However, I picked up the drums in quarantine. I could play the guitar and the harmonica and the bass. Bassoon wasn't for me. I'm a double reed guy, Phil.
Sorry, man. You're supposed to silence your phones when you're doing a podcast, but I neglect to do these things.
Well, this was pretty ad hoc.
Definitely ad hoc, for sure. For sure. So what are you passionate about, man? What's your dream in life?
I think this conversation is squarely at the middle of it. I half joke, half serious, talking about running for president. And it's more about how do we show more people it's okay to be ourselves? It's like, okay, I think I need a bigger platform, which kind of like you outgrow I like all these subplots that weave together like a good procedural cop show that we're doing right now. So you outgrow the position, right? And then it's time I need a new position. It's not the other way around, although that's how most people see it. So I feel like I have something. I have a message I want to spell, and now it's time to tell that message to more people. So what do I want to do? I want to meet more people. I want to help more people relax and become comfortable with who they are. And I think I'm trying to figure out what is the what's the maximum productivity chart between cost and everything to make that happen. So that's what I'm doing. That's my mission.
Super cool, man. Super cool mission. Very, very servant leadership focused, which I love.
Yeah, well, I mean, I get a lot out of it too. It's a lot of fun for me. So it's not altruistic. I don't want anyone to get the wrong idea.
For sure, for sure. Any other thoughts? Any other topics you want to cover today, Adam? This was, as you mentioned, pretty ad hoc, so we didn't necessarily prep for this. I think there's some good nuggets in here. I think people will get some value out of this. Some definitely some interesting perspectives.